everyone. I am so excited. We have Christine Mount with us today, all the way over in Melbourne, Australia. Hello, Christine.
Hi, Raelan. How you going?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Really well, thank you. Really well.
Good. Thank you so much for joining us. I am so excited. Christine is here because she is going to be sharing a bit of her chronic fatigue syndrome, or ME, story. So Christine is at a stage with her ME or CFS that she has achieved a level of functional recovery. So she's operating at about 75 to 80% of the time that she is symptom free. But just before we jump into that, as always, it's important for you to know that neither Christine nor myself are healthcare professionals. We're just sharing our own personal experience of living with and recovering from chronic fatigue syndrome, or ME. Christine, if you don't mind, if you could just get started by telling us just a bit about your story. When did you get sick? How did you get sick? Do you know what set it off? How long have you been dealing with this, and so forth?
Yeah, so I'm into my fifth year of having chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia and central sensitization. It started at the very beginning of 2016. My body started doing weird things to me. So I went through the usual path, having tests for every kind of disease out there, a lot of brain scans, a lot of body scans, to be told there was nothing wrong with me. It got to the point that I was only getting out of bed 50% of the time. I was living in Singapore at this stage. I was in excruciating pain all over, and I couldn't sleep even lying down. I had to sleep sitting up in bed for about 9 months surrounded by pillows because it's too painful to lie down. And it wasn't until I got to that stage that we finally got a diagnosis of fibromyalgia through a rheumatologist. So that started the journey of the next 5 years of trying to recover from it.
Wow. Okay, so I've been saying chronic fatigue syndrome, or ME. Is that a diagnosis that you have, or that you were given, or is it fibromyalgia specifically?
I've been diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, CFS,
Okay. Okay.
fibromyalgia, and central sensitization, which is an umbrella that joins those two conditions together. When my body simply just does not operate anymore, like it forgets how to walk on days that it's really, really tired. Like my legs forget how to go from one step in front of the other, which I can get them to do it. I flick them with my hands and we start walking. It's usually in the morning that will happen. But once the brain
Okay.
remembers how to do those functions, I can gradually throughout the day improve.
I can't even imagine having to sleep sitting up for so long. I mean, we have so many sleep problems, it seems like, with these illnesses as it is. And then to add in such an impossible situation like that must have been really tough.
It was really, really tough. When I was speaking to my osteopath at the time, he said, "Do you dream?" I'm like, "No, I've lost my dreams. I miss my dreams. I haven't dreamt since February 2016." He goes, "Well, you're actually
Wow.
not falling asleep." So that's when I went, how can I recover if I'm actually not getting restorative sleep? So that's when I started taking sleeping tablets to help me get to sleep, because the pain would just keep waking you up all the time.
Okay, so things are obviously incredibly challenging for you, to put it mildly, with this illness. So what did recovery look like generally for you? How did you start to pull yourself out of this? Was there a program that you followed, or did you do it all by yourself?
The first 9 months were absolutely brutal. And then I realized I started looking at food. So once I removed all chemicals from my diet, any preservatives or anything like that, and gluten for me is a trigger. It's not for everyone, but it is for me.
Hmm.
I removed that from my diet, and dairy. My symptoms became a lot better. So I was thrilled and I thought I was going to get well again. And that was probably in about November 2016. By the following March, I still had chronic fatigue. I still had chronic pain, to the extent that, music would hurt me, my clothes would hurt me. So that's that central sensitization. If you went to a wedding, the vibration of the conversation would hurt. And I thought, am I never, ever going to get better from this? I did a lot of reading, which is difficult when you have a brain fog to read, but I did a lot of reading. And eventually I came back to Melbourne and I found an amazing medical team. So I think it's a combination of finding solutions for yourself, but also having a great medical team. So I think short answer to your question is I had to put myself into the centre of recovery and reach out to various members in that team to find out what worked for me. And I don't think there is any answer to say this will heal you. I think everyone has to go through that process of putting them at the center of their recovery and just keep trying different things.
So it sounds like it was very driven by you in many ways. It was your own program. You didn't invent it all yourself from scratch. You're pulling from what different professionals told you and the guidance, but sort of using them more like consultants and then piecing together what made sense.
Yeah, it's very much self-driven, and I think that's part of the problem is it's a very lonely process to recover because there's not enough awareness of this disease. So no one really understands what it is. So you don't get your community supports compared to other conditions that are known. People don't know how to help you because they don't know what it is. And then people, even doctors, don't know how for you to recover. They can give you ideas, but it has to be driven by yourself.
Don't you find, I definitely found that any doctors that are, or any kind of specialists or practitioners or whatever that I worked with, it was very much like we were learning together.
Absolutely. I've had some amazing doctors in Melbourne, and I've just got a couple of books. They all recommended something different, but my
Yeah.
physiotherapist recommended this book. It's called Explain Pain, and it explains how your brain is working that generates that chronic pain, and then how to reverse that process. So that was an amazing book, and he was an amazing support, and he's also my coach. Even
Okay.
back to work program, he's my coach. My rheumatologist recommended two books. This book, Brain's Way of Healing, and also the Autoimmune Paleo Diet. So these two books also changed my life. So these three books together, all working together, changed my life to enable recovery.
Oh, that's so great. It's so great that you found books. And for people watching, I'll put the links, the full information for all of these books in the video description for anyone who's interested in checking them out, because it sounds like they've been a huge help.
Yeah, they have been. They've been amazing. And it's also, I was able to read them. And I know a lot of people can't read with this condition. Yeah, so that was a real benefit. I couldn't read all the time, but when I did, when I could, I would read as much as I could.
So you mentioned one of those books, I believe you said, was about paleo diet. So it sounds like diet clearly played a role in your recovery. And if so, how so?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a history in our family of autoimmune conditions. So I have other family members who have contained their symptoms through diet. So I already had insights to diet. So in 2016, I had a keen focus on diet, and then I studied nutrition for 1 year, which was great. So it gave me greater insights to how food impacts you. But when I went and saw my rheumatologist, he said, try an anti-inflammatory diet. So that's when I went on to the Amy Myers Autoimmune Paleo. And it's just a 30-day program to reduce inflammation in your body, and then you reintroduce food after that and see how your body responds. And that's critical for my health, because if I eat the wrong foods for me, it could have an impact that I can't get it off the couch for maybe 2 or 3 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, so I can't cheat.
All right. So are there any other things that you've done along this way that you felt has been really helpful with your recovery? Any other main players that really helped get you where you are?
There's been so many things that I've tried, and I think different things are important at different stages. And I know you posted something about the lymphatic system a few weeks ago, and that was key for my recovery when I was really unwell as well, as having lymphatic massages or learning how to do that on myself. So that was important at one stage. Yeah, so meditation has also been a cornerstone for my recovery. I have to meditate every day. If I go for a period of time without it, my body starts reacting and my symptoms start coming back.
Yeah, it's another one I don't think people give anywhere near enough credit to. It doesn't sound powerful enough to have dramatic results, but so many people really do find that it really catapults their healing. And I know you used to, I don't know if you're still doing it, but have one of the most fantastic meditation practices that I've seen that's been happening during this quarantine. Can you tell us a bit about that? Because I think that is just amazing.
Yeah, it was so much fun. When we went into quarantine for COVID, I've got some great neighbours. And so we decided to start meditating in the morning at 6:30, and we all have a different meditation practice. I do transcendental meditation, so I have a mantra. My next door neighbour has a movement style meditation, and then Steve, the third neighbour down, he does their meditation. So we're all doing a different practice. Oh, and Vanessa uses the Smiling Mind app. We're all on the front porch meditating, and people would walk past and say, what are you guys doing? So we end up doing it live for a period of time during COVID. I've stopped doing it live now because people are up and about and can go places. But yeah, it's really good fun. Yeah.
Oh, that's just amazing. Good for you. So I know for me, exercise ended up being a really big part of my recovery. It took a long time to get to a point where it was effective for me. I failed at exercise programs for years and years and years. And by exercise programs, I mean just trying to do a couple minutes of exercise. But eventually it did help me a lot. So I'm always curious to know if this is, a part of other people's journey. I didn't have the fibromyalgia component, so I don't know what it's like dealing with that constant chronic pain. But I'd love to hear how exercise has played into your journey, if at all, and has it been helpful or hurtful?
Oh, it's been helpful and hurtful. I
Okay.
would say, yeah, movement has been essential for my recovery. But what is also essential was the physiotherapist I had, but it explains how movement and your brain works together. So we had to go through a process of a particular movement. It's safe for me to do it. So my brain didn't go haywire. And so it was a very small steps. At the time when I first saw him, I couldn't lift my arms up. So we had to retrain my brain to do these activities really, really slowly. And then over a period of time, I eventually got back to the gym. I'm not doing what I used to do, but I'd love to be able to do some more exercise. I'll get there eventually. But that's taken a year and a half.
A year
A
and a
year and a
half.
half. Yeah.
So it sounds like it definitely has been a part of your journey as well, but in a very different and unique and specific way, which is what I'm hearing a lot. Some people really thrive with doing walking and cardio, whereas for me, that kind of stuff never got me anywhere. I had to focus on strength training. So I don't know what you've noticed, but there does seem to be some themes, but there's definitely no one size fits all.
Yeah, there's no one size fits all, but I would say my common theme talking to people is routine. Your
Okay.
brain is used to a routine. So if walking works for you, you can normally keep improving on the walking. But then if you
Hmm.
start strength training and it's a new thing for your brain, you haven't done it for a while if you've been unwell, you have to give your brain a chance to get used to that movement. If I was trying something new, it would just be a small movement for that few weeks and build up on that movement. I wouldn't be bringing in multiple things at the same time.
That makes sense. That makes sense because for me and for other people as well, it seems to be when we just focus on one thing that we do well and do it consistently. And then, I built myself up so much with strength training, and I got to a point where I was really able to do some really good, long, hard workouts. And then I started trying running again, and it was like starting from zero. I just could not believe how hard it was and how much my body was struggling with it. When I felt like I was in pretty decent shape, it didn't feel like it should be that difficult to get started. But thinking of it in terms of retraining your brain, and it's something brand new, and your brain's putting on the brakes.
And I think once your brain knows that certain movement is safe, you can start building on it then. Like I tried to do a tiny little jog the other day. My brain didn't like it at all. So but I was it's like, no. And then it starts giving you pain signals, like
Yeah.
like you're being electrocuted kind of thing. I'm like, okay, I'll just bring it in even slower. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to be almost like when your immune system goes overactive. It's like our brain goes overactive trying to protect us, and it just tries to shut down anything new. And people ask me this a lot, which is why I've been asking other people this, because I'm curious of your experience. Because a lot of people, myself included, really put a lot of work into detoxing their life, whether it's organic food, natural cleaners, cleaning out your home, natural body products, you know, just getting rid of anything, air fresheners and all that kind of stuff in your life. So how has this played into your recovery? Have you made these efforts to remove any of these sort of toxic culprits from your life? And what have you seen from that?
Yeah, I have, and I know everyone tries different things, but what I focused on was the food side, removing any chemicals from my food and removing processed food. So I was eating real healthy food and avoiding some ingredients that would naturally trigger me. But I wasn't as strict as other people for organic food. I just really focused on the dirty dozen, so which the foods that had high pesticides, and then I sort of just bought real food the rest of the time. But you'll never see me eat processed food. If it has a chemical on the label, I will not buy it. Like E27, I don't know, all these different numbers. If it's a number, it's not real food. So I focus on eating real food. So that's been my sort of detox.
That makes a lot of sense, really, to put your focus on what you're putting into your body. It
Yeah,
seems like it's going to be what gets you the most results.
yeah, yeah. If I had like a, a diet Coke or something like that, because that's basically chemicals, my body does not like it, and I'll have an instant reaction to that.
What kind of reaction do you have from that?
Pain. So, and it's
Okay.
the electrical. I have all different types of pain, but it'll be electrical shock pain. Like, so I feel like I'm getting zapped, like that, and that's a condition of fibromyalgia, but it probably will happen within about 3 hours of having just a little bit. Yeah, so I just don't have it.
And it's a bit scary because most of us have normalized so many of these things, and it almost seems like people like you and I are a bit of like the canaries in the coal mine. We're going down first, but all the other people that are still standing, it doesn't mean it's good for them. It seems like it catches up with everyone eventually, but there are so much toxic stuff and non-food stuff that we consume, and we have just decided is okay. It's really quite scary.
It is scary, and people say, "Oh, you must miss things so much." I'm like, no, you just get used to it. You get used to eating healthy food, and I don't miss the non-healthy things because it doesn't make me well. And they're like, "Oh, I could never do that." And I say, until you get sick enough that you're not functioning, then you'll give it a go.
Yeah, and I would imagine we all have little warning signs in our bodies. Yours are loud and screaming at you, so they are quite hard to ignore. But I imagine a lot of us are just stuffing down a lot of the stuff that we're seeing. I
Yeah.
used to have a kind of Diet Coke addiction, and I really, for a long time, ignored the connection that I would get headaches soon after drinking them. I really just didn't want to admit, because I enjoyed it, that that's what was causing it. But in time, there was no denying it.
So one of the books I read is Amy Meyer's The Autoimmune Solution. She talks about we get these early warning signs. You might have them for years and years and years. And warning signs could be, inflammation in your joints. It could be an irritable bowel. And you don't do anything about it until your body's really yelling at you
Mhm.
that you can't ignore it anymore.
It really seems that we all come out of this, we learn a lot. It's like growth boot camp. I call these illnesses like heavily disguised life coaches. And, I think so many things that I'd love to go back in time and tell myself when I first got sick. Actually, I did a video just on that topic, all the things that I'd love to go back and let myself know. So, are there, not are there any things? There definitely, I'm sure, going to be things. I'm curious what those things are that you would go back in time if you could go to when you first got diagnosed and tell yourself that you think would have helped you along this journey.
So a really good question, definitely. I often think about this myself. What would I tell myself in 2016 in February when I started being very, very unwell? If I told myself I was going to go through a brutal period of isolation where I was going to lose all my hobbies, every single hobby that I loved. I loved diving, running, doing boot camps. I lost all my hobbies. You lose a lot of friends because they don't understand the illness. You lose your job. So everything that was attached to you, your whole identity, you're about to lose. And then you're going to go through periods of isolation where you don't see anyone because it's not a well-known illness. People don't know how to help you. You might say you can't get out of bed, but they don't understand you really can't get out of bed some days. So the brutality of the illness and the lack of awareness could crush you. And it would be a devastating story to tell myself. But on the flip side, I'd say you'll discover how strong you are and how positive you can be, and you actually have the strength within yourself to work this out, and you'll surprise yourself about what you can do. I think that would be the lesson on that, and it's just how strong people are when they're faced with these kind of conditions, and you can get out of it. There is hope for recovery. People will say there is no recovery for this illness, but we have seen people, and you do amazing stories of people who have recovered. So you have to back yourself and keep trying. And I think it is an amazing life coach. I have a lot more empathy for people who are lonely and who have illnesses, whereas beforehand I didn't even know what those feelings felt like.
I agree with all of that. All of that resonates. And when you're sick, it feels like sometimes I think this mountain that is just crushing you, because it really is this marathon, I find, to get past these chronic illnesses. And it takes so much to keep getting up every single day, day after day, and doing the work of getting yourself out of this. So if you're stuck there right now, keep going. Exactly like you said, you're stronger than you think. And strength isn't even some elusive quality I've found that you just have to muster up. It really is just building in support into your life, finding new resources, finding new tools that will help you get through this. And it's not easy, but it is doable.
I think the other key thing I tell myself is recovery is not linear. So you'll take 2 steps forward and sometimes you feel like you're taking 3 steps back. So, and we're talking about you may be well for 6 weeks and then you overdo something and you might go back to how you felt 3 years ago. It's not linear. but you are making incremental improvements and your body remembers that. So then you can keep stepping forward.
Yeah, and that can feel all a bit discouraging, but I found it's never really like you're going 3 years back because you're a different person now. And like you said, there's memory within your body and your brain, and you've learned things and you have new skills. So you're not back to 3 years ago. You can pull yourself out of it more quickly.
Which is really true. So now when I get sick, my recovery time is so much faster. So my flare they would last, say, 7 weeks, whereas now a flare for me may impact me for a day and a half.
Wow.
And you can deal with that.
So this kind of leads into the last question I have, which I think is a good place to wrap things up, because you've clearly been through something incredibly difficult, incredibly painful, physically and mentally, something we wouldn't wish on anyone. But I'm just wondering, is there anything you've pulled away from it? I don't want to say that you should be grateful for pain or suffering, but any ways that it's changed you? Has it changed who you are, how you live your life? Are there any hidden gifts that came from this whole experience that you found?
Yeah, I think empathy is the gift I've been given, and realizing that all our lives are so different and you never really understand what other people are going through. But if you can just empathize and just say the words, so how are you going? And I'm sorry you're going through this. Even if I don't understand what they're going through, just having that empathy for someone, and they'll just nod their head and they'll say thank you. And that's the gift that I think I've learned, is empathy.
It's a common one of, all the interviews I've done so far, and I haven't aired them all yet on YouTube, but I think everybody has said this, and I definitely feel the same. And it's something I couldn't have appreciated until I am where I am now. It really does help find it helps us to connect to other people more quickly and more easily in a more meaningful and a deeper way, and have just better relationships. And we appreciate the value of being there for other people, and that everybody has struggle. Everybody has some kind of struggle. And when we know how much it's meant to us when other people have done simple things to be there for us, it doesn't have to be much. Like you said, just saying, how are you doing? I'm sorry that you're facing this right now. That sounds really tough. Those 3 sentences could really help someone's day.
It can change your day. Yeah.
Yeah.
If someone just taps in and asks, how are you going? I'm really sorry. I'm like, oh, thank you.
Yeah, that seems to be the gift of empathy, is that we have an appreciation for it. It doesn't have to be a grand gesture. Small things can really impact someone else's life.
I think what you're doing is incredible, Raelan, is giving people hope. So at the beginning of this year, I said to myself, I don't want to have another year like last year. I want to focus on people who have a recovery story. And that's when I started following you and a few other people who have recovered. And I think it's really, really important to do that, to keep giving yourself hope. And it's really, really important.
Yeah, I think it's the fuel that keeps this all going. I too appreciate very much people who share their stories, and thank you for that. It's been felt like it's been such a rewarding experience for me to get to connect with so many people and to get to share some of my story. And I was very nervous about it in the beginning, and I wasn't sure how people would react. The internet can be a big, scary place. You're never sure when you're going to get attacked, but people have just overall been wonderful, and just really sending a lot of support my way as well. So yeah, I think sharing our stories is important. So thank you so much for sharing yours today. I really can't thank you enough.
Well, no, thank you. I just hope that someone resonates with part of the story. It also helps with awareness for maybe the family and friends of people going through this. The stories you're sharing, I think, are really important for not only the sick people to watch, but also their family and friends.
And where can people find you, Christine, if they'd like to chat with you more?
They can follow me on Instagram, I Energize, and that's more about healthy lifestyle choices, sort of learning how to energize yourself. So they can just jump on that.
Okay, great. And to all of you watching, we would love to hear your thoughts as well. So please leave some comments. Let us know if anything from Christine's story resonates with your own, or any suggestions or thoughts you have on any of it. Your feedback is always really valued, and I always love hearing from you. And I know that other people do as well. And thank you for your support of what we're doing here, and for liking and subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed already, I've got a few more interviews already lined up and scheduled that will be coming up soon, including a few more full chronic fatigue syndrome or ME recovery stories. And if you're not already friends with Christine and I on social media, please do come find us, because we'd love to meet you. We'd love to chat. We'd love to hear a bit about your story. And if you enjoyed this video, if you think it had value, please share it. You can share it on Facebook. There's a link below the screen where you can share it directly on Facebook or a variety of places, or you can just copy the link and share it yourself. And you can share it on Instagram. Just take a screenshot, tag myself, tag Christine. We'd love to know what you thought of this. All right, so thank you again, Christine, for being here today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I greatly appreciate the opportunity.
And thank you to everyone who's watching. And that's all for today. For those of you watching, whatever you're going through, whatever you're facing, just keep going, keep at it. You've got this, and contact us and let us know how we can help. And I will see you in the next video. Take care, everyone. Do you know that I wrote a book? I bet you actually did, because I talk about it a fair bit, because I am ridiculously proud of this book. In Finding Freedom, I share not only my story, but also what worked for me to recover. Now, I know that my exact path won't be everyone else's exact path, but with all the goods that I share in here, I feel quite confident that at least a few things will be game changers for you as well. This is a book of connection. It's a deeply personal yet universally felt story. It's laughing endlessly at my expense while learning a few tools to thrive. I know it's a fantastic companion to help you on your journey to your happiest and healthiest life. I am so proud of this book, and I cannot wait for you to read it. And when you do read it, tag me in a post with the book, because I'd love to repost it and share a bit of your story as well.